Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have more information regarding good old Dustborn and the apparent asset flip or stealing of assets they got accused of doing when it came to Grand Theft Auto's apartment complexes. People have noticed that there was almost a one-to-one recreation of these said apartments in Grand Theft Auto, and Dustborn got accused of stealing assets. Now, apparently, that was not true to an extent. However, it seems like Dustborn has been actually caught using a particular asset that is pre-generated and made by someone else for the grand total of about $80.
Stop it. Get some help.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to games like Dustborn, they are made with the most minimal amount of energy as possible. They are the laziest kinds of video games to be made, and that's because the people making them don't actually care about making a good video game. That's not the point of Dustborn. Dustborn is simply just an Antifa marketing campaign. That is all it is. It is meant to try to indoctrinate the few sub 100 people that actually play the game. The funny thing is, some of the people playing the game aren't even really wanting to play the game in the first place. They're just playing it either for content or to see how bad it is, to inform their viewers, whatever the case may be. But somehow, some way, Dustborn was made, and they were funded not only by the government, but they decided to use that money to buy $80 asset flips in order to use in their lazy game. So let's get into this article from SmashJT.com. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. Now, I've been finding it absolutely hilarious that people are calling this game Dustbin instead of Dustborn. I think it's pretty fucking funny. Red Thread Games, the developer behind Dustborn, continues to spiral into deeper controversy as more information about their game's creation comes to light. Initially, the game piqued mild interest due to its unique narrative premise and one of those just how bad it is kind of games, but recent revelations have revealed a much lazier, almost comically disastrous side to its development. At first, many suspected that some of the game's assets might have been stolen outright. This speculation arose after Hey Slick That's Me noticed that the layout of a particular apartment in Dustborn seemed eerily familiar. Combined with some aggressive tweets from one of its developers, Thea Berg, aka Shitspout, which, by the way, if you're working for a company and your Twitter account that you use to tie yourself to this company is Shitspout, I mean, there has to maintain like some level of professionalism. Even for some of the most ideological psychopaths, like you have to have some level of fucking professionalism, even if it's like minimal. People were too quick to jump to conclusions about potential theft of these assets. However, the truth, as it turns out, is perhaps even more embarrassing. Now, the funny thing about this little picture here, this thumbnail picture here, the funny thing about this is that they actually left the Twin Towers in the background when talking about New York City, which I find to be ironically hilarious only because these are the same kind of people that worship the people who probably did 9/11 in the first place. So the fact that they're trying to reverse it and pretend like none of it happened in this alternative to America, I just find it to be extremely interesting. So then it says, while the assets weren't technically stolen, it's been discovered that the apartment layout in question was purchased from an artist known as Oreo Daz. But here's the kicker. He apparently openly admitted that their design was just using GTA 5 as a reference. So that is fucking hilarious. So even though they didn't steal the assets, right? They didn't technically steal the assets. What they did was they bought the assets from an artist who essentially admits to extreme inspiration. Like, I'm not even going to say stolen, but extreme inspiration from GTA 5's apartment model. In other words, the apartment layout in Dustborn wasn't an original creation or even a unique asset. It was a secondhand copy borrowing directly from the iconic game Grand Theft Auto 5. So this is even more proof that this was, in fact, an asset flip from Grand Theft Auto 5, but the only difference is that it didn't actually take it from GTA because they made their own thing. GTA made their own thing, right? But they stole that concept in the sense of they bought the actual flip from this person who sells this concept. They bought it and used it for their game because they don't have the skill or the ability to do interior design themselves. If we watch this video here, let's click this video and see. All right, so just quick pause. If you guys can look at this, this is literally Dustborn's fucking apartment. It's a one-for-one. This is Dustborn's apartment right here, just in much better graphics. If we continue the video. this is Dustborn's apartment. This is so sickening. It's $80. That's literally all it is. $80, and you yourself have an apartment that you could put in your Antifa game. That is fucking hilarious to me. Look at this shit, man. Look, all the way down to the small little look, this is it. This is 100% it. All the way down to the furniture, man. While utilizing third-party assets is uncommon in game development, especially for indie studios on tight budgets, what makes this situation so insane is how Red Thread Games attempted to cover their tracks and how they cut corners while taking government funding and tax dollars to fuel the game that they clearly were in over their head on. I don't think they were in over their head. I think they just simply don't care. Right? They don't actually care about making a good video game. They don't care about making something original. For them, the originality comes in the form of the Antifa storyline. That's really what it is. In terms of graphics, in terms of the actual areas and what, they really don't care to make it memorable in any sort of fashion. The only thing they want you to memorize is the Antifa fucking playbook. That's really all they care about. There, Burke's tweet suggested embarrassment, and perhaps rightfully so. This revelation not only highlighted how the studio cut corners during development, but also pointed to a fundamental lack of experience and competence in handling the project's demands. I mean, listen, we knew that they didn't really have the ability to do this, right? There's a reason why they're working on a game like Dustborn and they're not working on some AAA game that's a lot more complex, right? They're going for a more simplistic approach because they're more simplistic developers. That's not exactly a bad thing. I'm just stating the truth here. So for them, it ultimately comes down to how they can utilize this game to get what they want, ideologically speaking. That's really what matters most to them. They're not trying to make a game that's going to stand the test of time, something that's going to be talked about with friends and whatnot. They're not trying to do that. They're trying to make a game that people are going to come across by chance and hope that when they do come across it, they listen to the words that are being said in this particular video game and get indoctrinated by it, by its little story about how bad America is, essentially. As of GTA 5 copy-paste wasn't bad enough, another discovery emerged thanks to Path of Radiance 2 that seemingly defies all logic. There's something odd in the game's background. The Twin Towers of the World Trade Center are still standing. This has to make you wonder if the game's developers had purchased and used assets so old that they predate the tragic events of 9/11. That's very much possible. You know, they definitely could have spent money on this particular Horizon effect to you know, and it could be old, but I think there might be a little bit more to that. I think it's not just about using assets that are necessarily old. I think they wanted to purposely put the towers there for whatever their ideological reason is. But yeah, you might be right, Smash. They might be trying to do something where they're using assets that are so old, so cheap, mind you, right? Nobody's going to want to use assets from when the Twin Towers were up because it's happened a long fucking time ago, right? So it's considered extremely old. So you got to imagine how cheap it might have been for them to use assets like this. This entire game is essentially really cheap, really old assets that allow them to essentially make a video game with very little experience or skill really required. They can do whatever the hell they want because ultimately the player base that they're trying to reach out to isn't exactly the smartest kind of people that are going to notice stuff like this without people like us calling it out. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.